Chairman of the session, Mr. Tripathi, my colleague, Mr. Negi, His Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Really, it's a proud privilege for me to be addressing this conference and sharing my views. I'm told that there is a time constraint and we are going to have a minister at 2 o'clock. So I think I'll confine my talk to very, very specific points. Mr. Tripathi has given the complete backdrop and the issues. So I would like to mention that in order to increase the usage of gas and to make India as the gas-based economy, what we need to do. You see, the subject of natural gas today is quite well known. We have several conferences on natural gas itself, demand, production, issues, recommendations, all that gets highlighted. And if you take stock in a year of the various recommendations and observations of the experts, I think they are more or less identified. So, what really needs to be done? Why are we stuck up? I think that is the question I'm going to raise here before you, and particularly before the students. As Mr. Tripathi mentioned, we used to have 11 to 12% share of natural gas in the energy basket. It has been retrograde, and today we have 6% share in the energy basket. So, when we are saying we want to make it as a natural gas-based economy, why is it that in spite of so many years that have passed, and I was fortunate to be serving as the founding CEO and MD of Petronet LNG, and at that point of time, even the awareness about natural gas was not there. People couldn't distinguish between natural gas, LNG, LPG, CNG, and PNG. At that time, to even justify, why are you going to spend 5,000 crores for setting up a terminal and a huge contract of 25 years, and that too at a price, as Mr. Sharma was mentioning, at $2.50, and as Mr. Tripathi said, there were no takers. Today, the situation is different. People are aware of what needs to be done. But what I want to say, and very candidly, is this, that things are not happening the way it should happen. Now, if we are going to say, and I hear in many conferences, that by 2025, the share of natural gas in the energy basket should be 15%. So what are we talking? We are talking that in a couple of years from the existing consumption or demand or whatever, we should double it up, only then we can achieve that 15%, where we can say that we are moving towards making India as a gas-based economy. But that certainly is not happening. So one point that I want to flag, of course, there have been time constraint, but one thing that I want to say is that we know what needs to be done. There should be an action program till 2025 with accountability and with time dimension, that what industry need to do and what the government need to do to reach to that target. Only the slogans will not happen. Now, I will therefore just list out 7 very critical issues, and then in 4-5 minutes, I will just say that what are the challenges and what needs to be done. Some of the critical issues that I have noted down, one is relating to affordability of the anchor segment. The second is development of trading hubs, which to my mind is a very important aspect if we want to really progress and have gas-to-gas competition and provide a very predictable environment in the gas market. The third one that I have listed is the new demand centers by replacing liquid fuels. I think that's where the government needs to take initiatives. Switching over from oil to gas, there's already about 20 to 30% of oil demand which can be shifted from oil to gas. And gas being cheaper by about 18 to 20%, I think it's in interest of the economy that we provide incentives to people who are using liquid fuels to get into the natural gas. The fourth is expanding existing markets for gas. I think that has to be done jointly by the industry as well as the government. Then unbundling of transmission and marketing has been talked about for quite some time. Then obtaining government help for clearances and ROUs. I think that's a very, very important aspect. We get stuck up, and there are live examples in the country where we are stuck up for even creating pipelines to evacuate the natural gas and the infrastructure which is already ready. And then we have the city gas distribution, which is very key if we are talking of usage of natural gas and move from oil and diesel to the gas. So these are the few issues that I could think of that need to be really addressed. Now coming to the challenges, which I want to quickly cover, is that one of the biggest challenge that we have is relating to infrastructure development. Now if we are talking to go to 15% share, the government must play an active role by creating infrastructure first, without a great emphasis on immediate demand. I think there has to be a paradigm shift in this. It should act as a facilitator and developer of infrastructure. One more thing that I would like to mention is that infrastructure needs to precede demand to enable the growth of end use of natural gas. This is critical to meet India's energy security and regional development objective. So therefore, adequate gas infrastructure creation is critical for accelerating the growth of gas sector. Now, so therefore this business as usual approach has to go. The national pipeline grid, Mr. Tripathi has already elaborated. Quite a lot of work has already been done. I think there are signs from the government, encouraging signs, that the pipeline to the east which is coming, which certainly is an incentive, that needs to be done on a larger basis. So evacuation of natural gas becomes very important. So far as the regasification for LNG is concerned, I think we are in a healthy position. Number of terminals that are coming up, and therefore we should see that pipelines come in time. I want to just give you a simple example of infrastructure creation. You see, if you see oil in after independence, the oil sector was able to put infrastructure all around the country, and you had everywhere, the depots, the terminals, the aviation centers, the petrol pumps and all that. How did it come about? It came about because there was an administered pricing system at that point of time, and the companies were assured of a particular return. I think if we want really natural gas to prosper, which is in the national interest, we need to think of ways and means, whether at one time a cess was being thought to develop the national pipeline grid. And once the national pipeline grid is in place, see the market development, I'm very sure. And in this context, I would also like to mention Gujarat is an excellent example. They did not wait for demand. They perceived, they had a vision, they created a pipeline structure, and you see today the share of natural gas in energy basket of Gujarat is equal to the world's average, that is 25%. So here is a proof where how we need to move. The other point that I would like to say, though I must compliment the government, a lot is being done, but political will is a must, and I think a centralized model for the country, and as our chairman mentioned, integrated policy for gas, a master plan, to my mind is a must if we want to achieve 15%. Otherwise, after 7-8 years, we would be here where in the energy basket which is there. Of course, the policy and regulations will play a very important part. Long-term assurance to developers and consumers is needed. Regulators should play the role of facilitator, a kind of a missionary approach if we want this to happen quickly. Regulators should get a clear directional message from government that time-bound infrastructure should happen. And so far as CNG is concerned, the scope is unlimited. Fiscal reforms are important. Some have already been taken, but a lot needs to be done. So there are lots of points. I think in the time frame which has been given, I've just tried to touch the highlights and subject matter. But this is a subject, if we are really serious about achieving 15% in energy basket, we must have a macro-micro action plan, both for the industry as for government, and they should be accountable, and we should meet every 3 months to see what has been achieved and what has not been achieved. Thank you.